All right, hey guys, today's video is going to talk about angles. Now, we did not do a lot of angle stuff in 7th grade, so this is going to be kind of a quick refresher about angles. So please take notes as you watch. All right, first we're going to talk about what an angle actually is. So an angle is formed when you have two rays meeting at a common point. So this is a ray. I've got an end point, and then it extends. It keeps going forever in that direction. There's my first ray. My second ray I'll just do in blue. So again, it has an end point, and then it goes in one direction. So there's a second ray. So those two rays meet at this common end point, and it is going to be called the vertex of an angle. Now, the angle is the measure between those two rays. So from like here to here, basically how wide is that opening? It might measure like 30 degrees or 40 degrees. So that is an angle. Now, while I'm talking about angles, you can name angles in a couple different ways. A lot of times you're going to see some points on an angle, and I might call this B, C, D. Okay, if I want to name that angle, the vertex always has to be in the middle. So if I was going to name this angle, I would say it's angle B, C, D. Okay, so B, C, D, or you could name it, you could start here, D, but then you go to the middle, C, B. So you can name it either of those two ways. This is the angle symbol. So this little mark here, that means angle. You could also name it, if there's no other angle drawn on this picture, you could also name that angle C. All right, so that's kind of what an angle is. All right, there are some different types of angles that you hopefully have learned in the past. And the first one is an acute angle. That is an angle that is less than 90 degrees. Okay, so it's just kind of like a little angle. So if you see this, it opens up to less than 90 degrees. I kind of remember that as thinking like a cute little angle, so it's small, less than 90. A right angle is an angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. Okay, so a right angle looks like this. It's like the corner of your paper. If you measure it, it's perfectly a perfect corner or 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is an angle that is greater than 90 degrees. So it can't be 90, it's anything bigger, so like 91 or bigger. So it just needs to be, it kind of opens up a little bit wider. So this angle here, it's a little bit wider. That would be an obtuse angle. And then a straight angle is an angle that measures exactly 180 degrees. Okay, a straight angle is actually just a straight line. So if I just had kind of drew that crooked, but a straight angle, it's like half of a circle. It measures 180 degrees. So this right here is 180 degrees. So when you put your hand down, if you can ever put your hand down, that's going to make a straight angle. All right, so let's take a look at some different angles and see if we can name some. So I might ask you to name a right angle in my picture, and I forgot to draw this symbol. So obviously a right angle has to measure 90 degrees. It has to make a corner. So this angle right here is 90 degrees. Now I can't just call it angle B, because how do I know if angle B is this one, this one, this one, this one out here? So that's why we want to use the 3 letters. Okay, so I'm just going to trace it in green. Okay, remember the vertex always has to be the middle. So I'm going to start here at MBC. So I will call that angle MBC, and then again, this little symbol means angle. You could have also named it, start with the C and then went to the B and then the M. That would be fine as long as the vertex, the B, is in the middle. All right, how about an acute angle? Can you find an angle that is less than 90 degrees? Okay, well, if I look at this little one, that definitely is less than 90. Okay, so I'm going to name that one FBE. So there's my angle, FBE. Now you could have started the other way and went EBF as well. That would also work. That's not the only acute angle, but that's an option. An obtuse angle on my picture, I'll use yellow. So an obtuse angle needs to be a little bit bigger one. Now watch this. I'm going to try to trace this. What if I went DBM? If I took this whole big thing here. Now that definitely is bigger than 90 degrees. So I'm going to go DBM and then put my angle symbol. Or I could have started with the M, went to the B, D. Okay, and then a straight angle, I'm going to try to use, I'll use red. It has to make a straight line. So like if you put your hand down somewhere, it would have to fit there. So if I took this looks like a straight line. I will call that angle, I'll start here again, EBM. That makes 180 degrees. Okay, remember obtuse is bigger than 180, acute is less than 90, or sorry, bigger than 90 here, less than 90, and exactly 90. All right, the next thing that we are going to learn or review how to do is how you can classify angle pairs. That means when you have more than one angle. So if I look at a couple angles together, how I can classify them. All right, so the first two words that you most likely have learned in the past or seen before are complementary and supplementary angles. All right, so complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So basically if I take two angles and I put them together, let's say I take this little angle here and this angle here, if I put them together, they make 90 degrees. So I would say that these two angles, maybe I'll say angle A and angle B, are complementary because they make 90 degrees together. So supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So again, maybe if I take these two angles that I have drawn here, if I take a look at this one, and then I take a look at this one over here, if I put them together, they make a straight line or 180 degrees. So those are called supplementary. Now there's a couple ways to remember the difference between the two that maybe you've learned in the past. One way is to look at the C and the S. C comes first in the alphabet and 90 degrees is lower or comes first. So that's how some people remember. And then S is second in the alphabet, 180. That is one way to remember it. I'm sure there are lots of other ways, but that's just one way. Another way, supplementary starts with a S and straight line starts with an S. A straight line is 180 degrees. So like if I can't show this in here, but if I put my hand down on this line, it would be straight or flat. So those two make 180 degrees, a straight line. Those two together make like a half circle or a straight line. So that's supplementary. All right, so I might give you a couple problems that look like this. Two angles are complementary. So right away, as soon as I see that, I kind of think to myself, okay, complementary. The C, that means 90 degrees. Another way to think of complementary, I forgot, is corner. C starts with a C, or complementary starts with a C, and corner starts with a C. Corners make 90 degrees. Okay, so complementary, and then that corner, 90 degrees. And I tell you one angle measures 20. If you want to, can you figure out the other? Well, complementary means 90. If one of them is 20, the other one has to add up to 90. So 20 plus what is 90? Well, that would have to be 70. Okay, you can also think of it like this. Something plus that 20 degrees has to equal 90. You could solve it like an equation. Subtract 20 from both sides. I end up with x equals 70 degrees. Okay, if I look at the second one, it says two angles are supplementary. So first thing I think supplementary, straight line, which has 180 degrees. One angle measures 100. So I know I have two angles. They make a straight line. Well, here's a straight line. One is 100 degrees. Well, 100 degrees would maybe be like that. Okay, I need to figure out the other one. All right, well, together they have to make 180 because it's a half circle or a straight line. So this would leave me with 80 degrees. You could also think of it like this. I have some angle plus the other one is 100. Has to equal 180 because they are supplementary. I'll subtract 100 from both sides. I end up with 80 degrees. So I just solved two problems dealing with complementary and supplementary angles. All right, let's try another one where you actually do need to write an equation to solve it. So I'm going to tell you that these two angles are supplementary. First thing, again, I think is supplementary. I think straight line, which has 180 degrees. So I'm just going to make myself a note. It says, can I find what x measures? And then can I find the other angles? Okay, so I know my two angles have to make 180 degrees. So I see this angle. It measures 16 degrees, this little one right here. And then this angle, it's an obtuse angle, measures 2x plus 4. I know together they make a straight line. And I can see that right here. Right? This is a straight line. If I took this one and this one, I always try to draw like a little curve. If I took this part and this part, makes a half circle or a straight line, which is 180 degrees. So I can write an equation and say this one, 16, plus my other one, 2x plus 4, together they have to make 180 degrees. I just wrote an equation. Now I'm going to solve it. Let's combine some like terms. I see 16 and 4, that's 20. So I have 2x plus 20 equals 180. I want to get the x by itself, so I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. I end up with 2x equals 160. And finally, divide by 2, I end up with x equals 80. So that means just the x part is 80. So if I want to figure out what this angle here actually measures, this green angle, I know it's obtuse, so it better be bigger than 90. All I have to do is do 2 times, I'm going to write this in blue so you can see better, 2 times, instead of an x, I'll put an 80, and then it says plus 4. So it's kind of like doing a check. So 2 times 80 is 160, plus 4 is 164. So that means this angle here measures 164 degrees. This one is 16 here. Together they are 180. They make a straight line. All right, let's try another one. It says these two angles are complementary. So right away, complementary means they make a corner or 90 degrees. So I know the two of them together make 90 degrees. It says, can you find the measure of x? All right, I'm going to write another equation. So I know if I took this one and this one together, they have to equal 90. So I'll take my first one, 2x, plus my second one, 3x. They have to make 90 degrees. All right, I just wrote an equation. Now let's try to solve it. So if I have 2x plus 3x, that's 5x equals 90. I just have one more step. Divide by 5, which gives me x equals 18. Okay, now my answer is not 18. I want to know what each of those angles measures. Okay, so this first one here, this small little one in here, I'm going to do 2 times 18, which is 36 degrees. So this one in here measures 36. For this other one, I'll just write in blue, I'm going to do 3 times 18. If I do 3 times 18, I end up with 54. So that angle here measures 54. And I can do a quick check. Does 54 and 36, hopefully that equals 90. I'm just checking real quick, and it does, so I know I did that right. So you just set up an equation using what you know about complementary angles and then solved it, and then found what each of those two angles measured. All right, so let me give you one more set of these. Now, before we kind of move on, I just want to tell you that these two angles here, first of all, they're supplementary, and I know that because they make a straight line. You can kind of see that if I trace it, these two together make a straight line or a half circle. There's another name for these two types of angles, so they're supplementary. They're also called a linear pair. The reason for that name is because they make a straight line together, and they're a pair of angles or two angles. So these two angles together, if I took the one, I'll just trace it again in red, this angle here, okay, that's kind of a smaller angle, should be acute, and then this angle here, it's kind of a bigger angle, that should be obtuse. They make a linear pair and they're supplementary. So could you guys go ahead and pause the video and try this one? Could you solve for x and then figure out what do both of those angles measure? All right, so if you set this up, you should have said that first angle plus that second angle equal 180 together. Okay, if I set this up to solve it, I have x and 3x, which is 4x, plus 20 equals 180. Hopefully you subtracted 20. And you got 4x equals 160. Divide by 4, and you should have got x equals 40. So that means this angle up here, I'll just write in green quick, is 40 degrees, which makes sense. It's an acute angle, small little angle. And then this one, I'm going to have to do 3 times 40 plus 20, which is 120 plus 20 is 140 degrees. And there you go. So we'll keep practicing more of this next week.